Well, hello there, and welcome to November. I'm Semaj, and welcome to Being Creative with Semaj. This is my channel that I wanted to create because I think it's important for all of us to be creatives. And in that space of being a creative, we get to make things. So, being creative is different from being an artist. A creative is something that you just do, whatever medium it might be. It could be cooking, it could be gardening, it could be a lot of different things. And being a creative is a person who has to be invested in doing something creative every single day. So, my journey with you is going to be us creating together, but we're using the medium of art. We're going to be creating different art pieces for the next 30 days, for the whole month of November. So you are going to help keep me accountable, and for the next 25 minutes, we are going to paint together. So if you're ready, let's create and put some magic on this piece of paper. So this is new paper to me. This is Canson watercolor paper. It is not 100% cotton. It's probably got some sort of wood pulp in it and may have a bit of cotton, but there's no information on the paper. I got this paper probably 25 years ago. I have over the years accumulated a lot of different types of art materials, and now that I'm old, I'm just going to start using them. So I wanted to share with you the brushes I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using this Princeton flat brush. Also this flat brush. I'm going to be using a round brush and a dagger brush. And what are we going to create here? I have absolutely no idea. But let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I'm just going to put some water on this page. And more than likely, I will end up creating some sort of landscape scene because that's usually what happens to me. I end up making lots of landscape scenes. And I can already tell that this paper is not going to react very well to this water situation, but that's okay. Why do I like using big brushes? I like using big brushes because it allows me to swath in large amounts. Ooh, I do not like this paper. This is not going to give a good result in what one would. Ooh, look at that paper. You would not even, it says watercolor paper, but I don't think that it's watercolor paper. Look at the way it's streaking and the way it's not allowing the colors to do what the colors normally should do. So this might be a shorter video than I had anticipated simply because of the way the paper is reacting. Interesting. Interesting. So this might be one of the reasons I have never used this paper because, goodness gracious, it's not what I had hoped it would be. So I used to be a salon owner. I used to own different salons. And what made me think to paint and not actually show my face is that when I had my salons, I had a big picture window in the front. And I can't tell you, it was in a major metropolitan city, New York City. And regularly, I would have crowds of people standing in front of that window watching me create hairstyles. And I realized how much people just enjoy watching the process of someone being creative. And so that led me to think that maybe we could do some creative things together. So I want to say that if this was normal type of paper for watercolor, this would have a totally different reaction than what it's having. And what you'll see in a future video when we use proper 100% cotton paper, what a difference it'll make in what we get in our end result. But right now, we're working with what we got because that's what we do, you know? you get challenges, you hit up against things, and you can't change it because you're already all set up and you don't want to do anything different. So we just work with it. We work with what we've got. So I have now put in my sky, and I'm going to take my other large flat brush and we're going to put in a little color to bring in some sunlight, right? And we'll just pretend like this is where the sun is going to be. It's going to go all through here, right? And what I'm doing, I'm just tapping in. You saw that I created that line. Ooh, that's probably going to run down, and that's okay. That's okay if that runs down. We'll just let it do what watercolor likes to do. So this is different for me working in this height because I don't usually work like this in the sense of upright. I've actually never done a watercolor like this before, so this is a new experience for both of us, and we're learning together. So in watercolor, you always want to work light to dark. That's the most important thing that we do in the process of what we're doing, because if you put down the dark color first, you won't have any place to go because the paper's white and then it would have dark on it. You could lift out some color, but sometimes lifting isn't as successful as you want it to be and doesn't always work as well as you would hope. So you can lift with different things, and I'm going to use a little piece of tissue right now. So whatever tissue, I like to use just tissue that I have available and accessible to me in the moment. So I'm just going to go through and just lift some of that color off of there. And then I'm probably going to come back in with my little dryer and just quickly dry this so that we can put another color on top of it. And, oh, goodness gracious, sorry about that. I think that the color overall, I think the dryer won't be too loud for you. You'll be able to deal with that. So I love this little dryer. I got it years ago. It's called a Heat It dryer. It's from Craft Tool. It's a craft tool. It's by Ranger is the company. I don't even know if they make it anymore, but I certainly appreciate it because it doesn't blow everything all over the place. It's a super high heat. You can't hold it in one location because it will burn. It will burn your paper, whether it's wood pulp paper or cotton. If you hold it in one place for too long, fire could ignite. We're going to go and just hit this up here with a little bit of hot air, probably sounding like that's what I'm full of. I enjoy having the opportunity to share time with people and to engage in the creative process. Can you even believe how quickly November has gone by? Not November, the year is what I meant. That we are already in the month of November. It's just hard to believe. I just wonder, where is the time going? It feels like everything is speeding up so quickly. So is that dry? Oh yes, okay, that's nice and dry. You generally want to touch with the back of your hand or the front. You don't want to get too many oils on it, but you know, this is not a major piece of art that's going to be kept forever. It's going to be kept for a while. So what's the next color I want to go in with? I've created sort of the sky theme of what I want to create, and we have our background of our light. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up a little brownie, maybe a little something with something that feels a little brownish maybe, so I can put in a little foreground and just put that in right through here with my dagger brush. I'll just put in some of that. I like a dagger brush because it allows you to just play, right? One of the important things is that when you are creating, you want to make sure that maybe if you're an artist and you are doing something specific, maybe you need to go in with a plan. But you notice that I didn't go in with a plan. I like to think of this as intuitive painting and sticking to things that you know and things that you're good at, right? I know that I like landscapes and landscapes appeal to me and they work for me, so I'm going to paint a landscape. I'm not going to go in and try to paint a dog. I'm not going to go and try to paint flowers. I could. That could be a challenge for me. And if I wanted to broaden my experience and become better at that type of art, I could do that. Though if it creates a lot of frustration in me and it creates a lot of negative feelings and an emotion in me, I'm probably not going to do that because that's not why I'm painting. I paint because I enjoy the process of painting. I don't do it because of some other reason, right? I just do it because I love doing it. So understanding that and understanding how you operate is important in so many things in life, right? But especially when it comes to your art. Because if you are not a person who is going to be someone who is definitely engaged in the process, but wants to have fun in the process instead of being too technical about things, just settle into the flow, right? Just enjoy what you're creating. I like to think of it as taking a dance with the divine. And whoever and whatever the divine is to you, that doesn't matter to me. But for me, the divine is that special place that we all come from, where we get to reconnect to remembering our authentic selves. And I think when we remember our authentic self and we take off those masks, we allow ourselves to enter into a place that feels safe and lovely, and where you can feel connected to something bigger than yourself. And it's amazing when you see what comes through without even really trying and just going with the flow. And being responsive. I think really being responsive and listening. Listening to how the energy feels when you're painting. Feeling how you might respond to a particular color or a movement or the way something looks on the page, right? And I think a lot of times in art, especially as a person who's a creative, we always do things for an end result, right? It has to be a beautiful painting. It has to be something that I can sell, something that's marketable. You know, that's probably not the case. Maybe you just need to create a piece of art to create a piece of art for you. And maybe it's not even art. Maybe it's just a creative process that turns into something that feels like art. That's what's so unique and special about each of us. We can all have the same thing that's presented to us in the moment, and we can all take our perspective on it and make it what it is for us. I think about that in cooking, how oftentimes you can give people all the same ingredients, right? And yet they will all come up with a different variation of something from those ingredients. That makes me really happy when that happens. I think it makes other people happy and excited too when they get to see and be a part of processes like that, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say in this little let's paint together adventure is that lean into your authenticity And don't try to paint or be like someone else or create something that looks like something else. Choose to take a little time and maybe dance with the divine and see what happens, right? Because you never know unless you try. And if you try and you don't ever try, then you'll really never know. And it's kind of fun to go through things without an expectation, right? We have so much expectation in life. And I think expectation leaves a lot of room for us to hit places in our lives that feel uncomfortable and difficult, maybe are hard. Because when we create a narrative in our head that doesn't meet the reality that's in front of us, there's a whole lot of conversation that goes on there, right? So, as a person who just loves being creative and loves the process of creativity, I really think that it would benefit any of us, and probably all of us, to find whatever makes us happy being creative and spend a couple of minutes doing that. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's the 20 minutes that we've spent here nearly today. But what I've learned is that there's no greater investment than the investment that you make in yourself. Because when you invest in you, it's a return that just keeps coming back again and again and again and again. And each time you invest in you, you learn more about you. And isn't that fun? Isn't that fun when we get to learn more about ourselves? Some of you may be watching this and going, oh my gosh, that is not watercolor. That is not the way you work with watercolor. And you know what? You're probably right. You are probably 1000% right. And that's okay. Because you know what? It's the way I do watercolor. I recently learned and came across this amazing painter who is a watercolor artist in America. His name is Charles Birchfield. And if you get a chance, I would suggest looking him up and seeing the impactful art that he created in watercolor. What made his art so much fun is the color and style of his art and how he expressed himself in watercolor. He also journaled every single day and would write about all sorts of different things and essentially would write himself notes throughout the day is what it seemed that his journaling was. But I can see that comfort was gained to him and by him from doing so. So why I do bring that up is that not all watercolor is going to look like everyone else's. And that is exactly the way it's supposed to be. Because we're all individuals and we bring to the table what we bring to the table. And that's what makes it unique and special. And do I love every painting I do? Absolutely not. But did I make something? I absolutely did. And did I enjoy the process of doing it? Absolutely, I enjoy the process of doing it. Because when I get to create, it makes me feel connected to something bigger and greater than myself. And personally, for me, that's a feeling I really like. I like knowing that there's something bigger than me out there and something that I can connect to. So that's how it works for me. And how it works for you is how it works for you. So I think we're going to wrap this up. I don't know what else to add. I want to maybe add some little color in here for these. Don't know what that sort of is there. Maybe it's a little something in the foreground, a little wildflower, something. I appreciate you taking the time to spend some time with me and enjoy the video. I hope you enjoyed our little chat and spending some time together. It's a whole month of painting with me, being creative in all sorts of different ways. We might be doing watercolor, pastel, acrylic. Who knows? But what I do know is I won't be using this paper again. It's not horrible, but it's not great either. I have used better paper, and paper makes a difference, I have to say. Paper makes a difference because sometimes if you are just starting out in watercolor and you have improper paper, it will make you very discouraged very quickly, especially if you're doing florals and you're looking for things to happen like the bloom of the color to spread and to granulate the way it needs to. There's a little granulation up here, but not really the way that it needs to be. But, you know, we work with what we've got. I remember nursery school teachers used to tell me, or tell the kids, you get what you get and you don't get upset, right? And so that's sometimes just the way it has to be. You get what you get and you don't get upset, because it doesn't serve us to get upset about things, right? It just creates a lot of energy in us sometimes, especially if there's not a lot that you can do about it in the moment. Sometimes you just have to let things go and not have the attachment to it, because the attachment's what kind of holds us up. But having no attachment to this painting, I am going to call it done. So thank you for joining me today in this 20 minutes of painting together. I hope you enjoyed the time. I hope you take some time to find your creative self somewhere in your day today. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Until then, have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. Until then,